Yo, before you.
And we're back. So we're back, and basically we're still here with Popeye and with Tearz, and we was just talking about peer pressure and how that goes as it pertains to we talked about like the school and peer pressure, kids dealing with that. We also spoke about like how the government is being, they went from big brother to big bully and like trying to mandate and force everybody to do things that they're not really that comfortable with. But we're going to have to move on to our next topic, and because it is October and in honor of October, this is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so we definitely want to touch a little bit on DV and what that means to a lot of people. So, alright, let's start talking about that. You definitely can. So let's hear from Tearz. What's up? Domestic violence. What does it mean to you, and how do you feel about it?
Alright, the reason why I wanted to go first is because I really feel passionate about it. Because in a sense, I am a person who has been in multiple situations of domestic violence. And the reason why I can say that is, I'm not saying this because I'm proud of it. I'm saying it because I've been with the woman who had my children for 10 years. Out of those 10 years, we've been married for 1. So we've been in a relationship for 9 years and married for 1 year, which makes the 10 years. But the one thing I've come to understand is like, when it comes to domestic violence, it comes in so many different forms that domestic violence, in a sense, is an intricate topic. The reason why I say it's an intricate topic is because me as a man, when me and my wife, well, I'm unsure of what to call the person who I married at this point in time in my life, but me and her, it's like our domestic violence situations, it goes from being emotional to mental / verbal to physical. And I've come to realize the physical aspect in a sense, it comes from me, because what I come to tell a lot of men in life is, if you're dealing with a woman, especially because I'm a man, like, it's hard in a sense, especially if you're going through certain situations, right, to deal with your emotions the proper way at that point in time. And us as men, the main way we deal with certain negative aspects of our emotions is to get physical with it. So that's why with me and my wife's like DV situations, it would be physical to a certain aspect, because like I said, like I tell a lot of people, when I've been going out with her, in a sense, I was a little boy. I had to mature to a certain extent to understand like there's different ways to deal with this situation. But the one way I used to deal with this situation when I was a little boy is I used to get physical, because that's how I would handle certain situations that would be out of my control, logically, verbally, and mentally. And I've come to understand that's wrong. But with DV, right, it comes to an aspect like, it's not only a physical thing. Like my wife, she domestically violates me in a sense by verbally abusing me.
Right. So
like,
I just want to pause you there because I don't
abusing.
want you to run out of time. How your feelings on domestic violence
I think
and thoughts and feelings here?
it stems all over us. Like there's, like you said, a lot of different ways that you can be,
Domestically violent.
domestically, right. I mean, like, because you have verbal, you have physical, you have mental, you have all type of ways that a person can, like manipulate someone's mind or feelings. Like to have somebody feel that low or little about themselves, where they feel like they can't survive or live or do certain things without you. Like, or even when you feel like you can, a person's still beating and battering you down. It's like there's a lot of different ways that it stems from. Like. As being somebody who's also, again, been a part of it, see, for me, it's the opposite. I don't have a wife, but I do have an ex-husband. I'm literally divorced now, a month into it, thank God. But I remember days, again, when the testosterone is strong and niggas don't want to back down, and Aries to a Sag is two strong, elements, that's the same fire element, But nobody should have to be in a position where, because you are feeling something, saying something, or doing something, that someone has a right to take it from you or tell you that you're not allowed to do it, or to physically beat on you and force you against your will to do it. You know what I mean? Like, No one has a right to do that. No one should have to feel that low about themselves or go home to the place you call home, the place you should be the most safe and securing, and have to be scared or running or, you know, like being chased out of your own home, or, you know, like praying and going to everyone else's home because you don't want to go home, you know. Like, I think that's a horrible feeling. Domestic violence stems all over, you know. So
yeah. All right. So what I want, and I usually don't do this because it's not about me and I don't get personal with shit, but in this particular scenario, in this particular topic, I just want to throw one thing out there. As far as domestic violence goes, like, I used to, like, my biggest thing with domestic violence was that, you know, domestic means anything. As long as it's in the household, that means domestic. So domestic violence isn't always about just lovers, partners, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. It could be brother, sister. It could be mother, son. It could be father, daughter. It could, you know, domestic violence. Anything that's domestic. The word domestic means in the home. It's not outside in the public.
right. When you say somebody hating on you,
you know, so what my personal thing with domestic violence was, and I never really realized it, was I was, and I can kind of you know, feel where you're coming from as being the abuser, as they call it. You know, because I was the one who was always the first to, you know, like I'm the first to strike the blood, and you know, the shame about it for me personally was going into a courtroom and having to deal with a domestic violence case, and then you look at the person on the other side of the bench, and it was embarrassing if it was another male. So that kind of hit me a lot. I'm like, I'm not going to court for domestic violence and y'all talking about it's another nigga. Like, what kind of shit? How does that look on my public record? Like, you know, but that, I just wanted to throw that in there, and that's just my own personal. But I'm gonna let you go ahead. Keep your eye on that. But go ahead. Until that turns up.
All right. So in a sense, I agree with both Mr. Aaron and
Popeye.
and Mr. Popeye right here.
You're getting Popeye easy.
Nah, because it's like for me, it's like this: one considered abuser, to a second considered abuser, to
well, there's the abuser and there's the abused.
No, hold on.
Right, go ahead.
No offense to the victim,
right?
In no sense, the abused, which will be Mr. Popeye right here. One thing I've come to understand. It's like this: when in domestic violence, you have the abuser and then you have the abused, all right? Or you have the suspect and you have the victim. But in a sense, when it comes to that situation, I feel like both parties, in a sense, are victims. The reason why I say it like this, because, like I said, I've been in situations where, in a sense, I have always been considered the abuser or the aggressor, because the simple fact is, like I said, mentally and emotionally, I felt like I was being abused. You feel me? By my partner. And my one reaction towards it, or the one way I felt like I could react towards it as a man, or whatever the case is, was to be aggressive and or physical towards it. Which over time I've come to understand, especially because of where I'm at today, is wrong. You know what I'm saying? But that's why I can say, like, yo, when it comes to the victim, right, I can understand what they're saying. Like, look, for them, they may feel like, okay, they did not do anything at all whatsoever to deserve what it is that they've been through. And me, or whoever it is that's considered the abuser or the aggressor, feels like, okay, the person who has been victimized, whatever the case is, did something that caused me, in a sense, to react in a way that caused the situation to be what it is. When all in all, both parties are victims, because the only problem that's happening within that situation is a misunderstanding and a severe miscommunication. Because if both parties were able to understand each other and were able to communicate to a certain level, then it would never get to a point in time where it would be considered domestic violence. That's why I say domestic violence comes in so many forms of fashion, in a sense, and at the end, both parties are victims.
Right. I gotta pause you because remember, this is a time-sensitive thing.
Yeah.
And I'm with you a lot. I'm gonna give a quick testimony from somebody that I used to talk to. Actually, because you know I'm very good with community organizing, and I'm in a lot of aspects of the community.
You about to post
now,
online?
as far as it's concerned, you know, I had a police officer once talk to me about a man who used to come to the precinct, and he used to say that his wife was abusing him. And it's interesting because, like you were saying earlier, as men, when a man comes out and says, I'm being abused, people laugh. Like they think that that's funny. Wait. So they didn't take him very seriously.
It's not always physical. I know. I know.
Now he can give you his time, but that's if you choose.
No, I'm just trying to give you.
Okay. So and it was like it got serious, and it was like because the police would laugh at him all the time, they never took any of the reports down, and eventually obviously things got bad, and it could have been prevented had they have done their job. Now, if it was the other way around and a woman came to the precinct and said, "Oh, my man is beating me," immediately everybody wants to jump on. Yeah, you understand. So I definitely understand. But continue. I'm gonna go back with you because you got some time left to speak on it. So
I was gonna say, why don't we just split 10 minutes just chiming it out?
Well, yeah, but I still need.
He needs verbal confirmation of you giving me some of your time.
No, right? No, not confirmation. No, it doesn't. But I do need to know because you can chime in and out. That's the purpose of the button. But at the same time, each person needs a certain amount of time, and that's what I'm like. It has to be fair. It has to be even here. Like that's the whole thing about this. And we're talking about our feelings. Like no one's negating anybody's feelings. Your feelings are your feelings. But remember, the whole thing is about the whole purpose of this podcast is emotional intelligence and how do we deal with these emotions. And how do we deal with these feelings so that we have better outcomes, because that's the issue. Like Isaiah said earlier, I feel a way and I was brought up as a man, this is how we react, and it doesn't have to always be physical. So if we can talk about it first,
you mean like jokingly, but I said I want to share this right now. That's not physical abuse.
Well, that's the whole thing. Physical is action. You understand? Remember, we at the top we brought up feelings, thoughts, words, actions, habits, character.
To be honest, if I had more time, right?
Are you giving him your time?
I would get.
Like I said,
I'm just saying. Are you giving him your time? Yes.
Wait.
Pause. No, you can't 5 minutes. We can do this. 5 minutes ahead.
All right. So what I was saying is this, right?
Sorry.
As a person who, in a sense, was considered, like I said, the aggressor and the abuser, I can honestly feel for the person who has been, in a sense, in an abusive relationship, or I can feel for both parties, because, like I said, me as a person, it's like I've come to understand, within certain situations that I'm in right now, instead of me getting so aggressive to the point where I get physical with it, I walk out, I walk away. You know what I'm saying? And those are things that I wish I knew back then, because it would have helped me with so many other things. And like I said, abuse doesn't only come from, like I said, verbally violating somebody, physically violating somebody, or whatever the case is. It comes from you doing so much other things. Like, for instance, if me and my wife used to get into certain situations, right, or I feel some type of way, one way I would make sure I piss off is by entertaining other people. In a sense, that's also a form of abuse. The reason why I can honestly say that is because I know you don't like it. I know it's going to stress you out. I know it's mentally, emotionally, and physically going to make you feel some type of way.
I don't know if y'all know or not, but if a wife withholds sex from her husband, that's a form of abuse as well.
I understand. I know that, and that's rights for an annulment. I know all of this, but at the end of the day, we're not talking about that.
Right.
When it comes down to it, right, in society's eyes, right, abuse only is considered valid if it's a female.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, a female could smack the dog shit out you right now. A female could disrespect you every single day, degrade you every single day, whatever whatsoever, right, bro? But you as a man, like you said earlier, if you go to the precinct or to the judge and you report that, they're gonna look at you like, yo, bro, you're a man.
Right.
You should be able to deal with that. I'm saying this right now because I feel comfortable in saying this because of the podcast, and I want more people to be aware. I've been in a situation like this, especially today with my wife. We've been having an argument, and I'm like, yo, you know what? I'm leaving. And she's like, yo, you as a man, you was not ready to be married to me because you can leave so easily, right? And I'm like, yo, I was ready to be married to you because I loved you.
All right. Now we're being red lighted, so that means that we have to stop. I'm sorry about that. Our next topic is going to be
So we got a break?
sexual harassment. So we're about to take a break. We'll be back with you guys, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna be speaking about the topic of sexual.